But let's start not south of the border, no, north of the border. Jesse Marsch and the Canadian national team, it's now official. Marsch is going to be Canada's next manager, replacing Mauro Biello, who was the interim, and following in the footsteps of John Herdman, who, of course, took him to the 2022 World Cup. Marsch's first order of business, Copa America, where Canada in Group A with Argentina, Peru, and Chile. They're going to have warm-up games in early June against Netherlands and France as well. All right, Herc, so now that it's officially official, what do we think of the Jesse Marsch hiring for Canada?
Love it. Can we separate what I do like and then what I'm very confused about? What I like. I think for Jesse Marsch and the style of play that he tries to implement, this is a very interesting player pool. Lots of players. They're very competent on the ball, a lot of good skill, but also athletes. They can run, they can press. It's a Jesse Marsch mesh that's waiting to happen that can be very effective, not just in Copa America, but beyond. And looking at that group, I don't think there's anybody that can convince me with the way that Chile is playing, the way that Peru is playing, that Canada rivaling that second place in that group against, Argentina on its own, because it's Messi and Argentina in the United States. But that second place, I don't think is lost upon anybody that they can do something, cause some damage. This is a very good player pool. People are just looking at the performance in the World Cup. They're looking about beyond what they've done in the Gold Cup. But I will remind you, this same group of players, which I believe has gotten stronger and already weeded out some of the more veteran players that needed to go a while back, this same group of players won the World Cup qualifying cycle. Or I shouldn't say won because, they ended up tying, but they ended up winning.
First.
They finished first. Yes. I don't want to give them a trophy for anything like that. But this is a very good team.
They want to give it to themselves.
They want to give it to themselves. That's fine. They can. But this is a very good team. They have some playmakers all over the field, tons of athleticism all over the field. And if they press you, if they buy into this system, if Jesse Marsch can somehow convince Alphonso Davies, who soon will be in Real Madrid. He can convince Jonathan David, who soon could be in a massive transfer and elsewhere. If he can convince Eustáquio, convince Kyle Larin, convince the likes of Cardo, just think about the players he has at his disposal. This could be a scary team to come across in a tournament setting. I like this. I'm a little confused to how he got the job. And it screams about where the Canadian Soccer Association is today because of their own corruption and wrongdoing. The business with Canada Soccer. If you want to give context, the context is that the three owners of the Major League Soccer teams that are in Canada pooled money together. They pitched in philanthropy, if you want to call it that, to bring Jesse Marsch in. But it screams of the corruption that's been within Canadian soccer this whole time, where they are so broke, they need people, I should say from abroad, foreign entities. They need money from elsewhere that try to help them to get any type of manager, let alone a manager who, within Major League Soccer circles, was sought after and turned those teams down. Those same owners are helping facilitate this move.
You want to hear the official title for the job that he's got?
Absolutely.
I almost can't do it with a straight face. It's the MLS Canada Men's National Team head coach. Because yes, to your point, the three Canadian MLS clubs are apparently pitching in. I would just tell you this, Herc. With MLS, there is no charity, okay? If they're giving this to the Canadian Federation to have Jesse Marsch there, it's for a reason. What that reason is, whether it's more control, as we've seen them exercise with the U.S. Soccer Federation, I don't know. But it's not coming for free, okay? Just like that $50 million that U.S. Soccer got for the land in Atlanta and Georgia didn't come for free. There's no such thing as free money. So be careful who you take it from. I'm not as high on Jesse Marsch as you are, just as a manager, right? One thing, I think he's very much a system guy. He likes to play a certain way. I think that's a much better fit for club than country. Just if I was hiring a national team coach, I'd go with somebody who, at least on the surface, was a little bit more flexible. I also think, Herc, if you really start to dig into Jesse Marsch's resume beyond the Red Bull Leipzig, beyond the Leeds failures, which are very evident, he didn't get the job in Europe because he had major success in Major League Soccer. He got the job in Europe because he knew the Red Bull system, and the success he had in Europe has to come with an asterisk because Red Bull Salzburg is, miles ahead of everybody in that league. I think they've won the Austrian Bundesliga like 10, 11 years in a row now. So winning the league there, that's not a major accomplishment to me. And he's going to have some tough work here. We mentioned those first three games: Netherlands, France, and the opener of Copa America, Argentina. So I hope that money buys him some patience there with Canada, because it could be a little bit of a rocky start in Copa America. But beyond that, Herc, what I'm most interested in is, what this means for the USA-Canada rivalry, and specifically Greg Berhalter beat Jesse Marsch, because we know, thanks to his agent, that Jesse Marsch was pissed that he didn't get the job.
We do. Ron Waxman, yes, was very angry and vocal about Jesse Marsch and him not getting the job. And we know that Jesse Marsch was also very vocal about the performance of the U.S. men's national team and the lack of tactical understanding when it came to Greg Berhalter and some of the decisions that he had in the CONCACAF Nations League semifinals and final. The word in Spanish is morbo. There's going to be a lot of people anxiously waiting to see this showdown, anxiously waiting to see some kind of confrontation from these two. I don't know. I'm not as pessimistic on you with Jesse Marsch when it comes to the Canadian national team, because I don't know their options, and I think you're overestimating
there it is.
Yeah, I think you're overestimating a federation and their ability to get somebody without any money, with no funds. And keep in mind, Jesse Marsch has a good understanding of the region, of the Canadian player, of what it's like to live and work in Canada, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't think, given the circumstances, that it's that bad of a move. And I don't want to say there's an asterisk behind what he did in Austria, in the Bundesliga. I'm sure Jurgen Klopp would like to tell you that he had a hell of a time facing Jesse Marsch when Red Bull Salzburg played Liverpool in the Champions League, group phase. And I'm sure that there are other teams that will tell you, just because you're in a team, Thomas Tuchel will tell you, just because you're in a place where they're supposed to win every single year, it's not that easy to win every single year. So I don't want to downplay what he's done in Europe. He's got a resume for a reason, and maybe systematical or not, but he's still been there where many American coaches, many Canadian coaches have not been.
And you know what? He wanted the job, and he's wanted it for a long time. Remember, going back all the way to his Montreal Impact days, there was interest from Jesse Marsch. At that point, it wasn't reciprocated by the Canadian Federation. Here, clearly, it has been.